Perfect. All you. You all good.
Hello. How is everyone doing? What's up?
Hey, we still have the thing on the screen. Oh, now we're good.
Yeah, we got it. What's up, everybody? It's Stats Over Politics on a Thursday. I'm Sean Holko alongside my guy, Kevin Dent. Kevin, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. Wanted to talk to you about Duke. I know we're not going to get into it much, but we got the dub, man. I know you were going against us.
Yeah, I was, and I was wrong, but we will get to that on Monday, and I will take my L officially on Monday. But today, we are with you all to discuss NFL free agency because the NFL free agency officially kicked off. The new league year started yesterday on Wednesday, and with that, teams can officially sign players. First of all, Kevin, before we get into all of that, I wanted to ask you about what you think about the legal tampering period because free agency started for real yesterday, but they all started talking on Monday, and that's when all the news started coming on Monday, and that's why we talk so much about free agency on Monday, but now so many more deals have come out. What do you think about that legal tampering period? It's in the NBA too.
Yeah, but in the NBA, they get penalized for it. It's honestly what's going to happen regardless. As soon as the season's over, they're done with that team. They're going to reach out somehow. It might not be directly to the player, but they're going to reach out and let them know that they have interest and things like that. So it always goes on. So I give props to NFL for letting it happen. I just think free agency might as well have just started on Monday.
Yeah, I agree because, let's just skip all the formalities because what's the point? Like really, truly, what's the point? And so we already covered a lot on Monday with a lot of the deals that came out initially, but now we're going to talk about everything that happened from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so we're going to get into everything Eagles. I don't necessarily want to, but I know Kevin really wants to. Oh, I got to point to this point this way.
That's all different now.
Yeah, I know, right? And so we're going to get into some Eagles. We're going to get into 49ers, obviously. Kevin may grit his teeth a little bit, but he has to deal with that with me. And then we're going to get to NFL free agency wide. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. And you know what, Kevin? I'm feeling nice today. Let's start with the Eagles, And so the first move for the Eagles is that Boston Scott returned on a one-year deal to their backfield, but their backfield also lost someone with Miles Sanders as he signed with Carolina. But the corners have come back around as they re-signed James Bradbury to a 3-year deal worth $38 million. And I thought that they were going to end up cutting Darius Slay, but apparently not, as he said goodbye, his wife said goodbye, and I just didn't understand why all of that happened, but it also looks like we're dealing with some technical difficulties right now. Kevin, can you hear me? No, I don't think you can hear me. Let's see. I'm not muted. So for the one person watching, Kevin, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, Did he fall? No. Oh, okay. So, anyways, I'm just gonna get back to it. And so, anyways, as I was mentioning, Darius Slay
Can you
ended
hear
up
me?
staying. I can hear you. I can hear you.
I'm gonna leave him come back.
Okay. And so I just want to say what's up to my guy Julian as I go solo for a little bit. Hey, I did this on Shaun and Vaughn a couple times where I went completely solo. And it was interesting, but I'm a person who loves to talk, so I can sit here by myself and talk. What's up with my guy Julian? I appreciate you tuning in, Julian. Not Zeke. That's my guy from Ohio State, and a lot of people were saying he's washed and that he's out of the league, and I don't think he's out of the league yet. Obviously, he's gonna find some team. I mean, I was talking with my friend Colin that some team's gonna need a goal line back as my guy Kevin comes back in. Kevin, can you hear me now?
Oh my gosh, man! Yeah, I'm back and I'm going.
What happened there? We were good to start. I can hear Blue.
I placed my phone on the cord and it just started tripping.
Oh no. No. So that sucks. And technology is funny like that because like these headphones that I'm wearing, like the funny thing about them is sometimes because I connect them via Bluetooth to my laptop, but then also my phone. When I try to connect them to my phone after I did my laptop, sometimes I turn them on and it just makes like the connection noise over and over and over again. It's like ding, 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 ding. And it looks like we got a big Kevin fan. Who's that, Kevin?
I couldn't tell you, man. I was lost looking at it.
Apparently, they are mid by their screen name. And they got a Despicable Me character. Anyways, we got a big Kevin fan in the building. But yeah, Julian, sorry about Zeke. We're gonna get to Zeke. So Kevin, what was the last thing that you heard me say? Because I was pretty much rattling off the moves that the Eagles have made since Monday.
I didn't hear not one move.
Okay, so let's just get back into it, because I want you to hear every move that we're going to talk about. So we got Boston Scott returning on a 1-year deal, obviously to their backfield, but one piece not coming back to what is it? It was a 3-headed backfield. Now Miles Sanders isn't coming back as he signed with Carolina, but as I was mentioning, the corners and Kevin, your biggest fan is Emilio.
Oh,
so there you go. And so anyways, their corners, they re-signed James Bradbury to a 3-year deal worth $38 million, $20 million guaranteed, $6 million in incentives. And I thought that your boy, Darius Slay, was gone. I mean, he tweeted goodbye, all that shit. And then he came back. And so he is coming back on a 3-year deal for $42 million and $23 million guaranteed. The only 2 other moves that they have made that I didn't mention is that Fletcher Cox, he's coming back on a 1-year deal worth $10 million. Apparently, he took a hometown discount to return to Philly. And Gardner Minshew, the legend, he's going to Indianapolis to sign with the Colts and play for not Frank Reich. I was about to say Frank Reich, but he's not there anymore. Anyways, so what do you think about all the Eagles moves?
Man, the secondary was huge. As you know, in the group chat, Shaun, we've been going back and forth. And I honestly had no idea what we were going to do this offseason. Coming in, you can ask Shaun. I thought I knew what was going to happen. I thought I knew who we were going to sign and let go. And everything went left. Everything went left, as you guys can see by Shaun's reaction. But we just pivoted, man. We showed that the trust in Howie, man. Howie is the man. We were able to release Slay, like Shaun mentioned, and sign him back a couple hours later just to help free up some money. And it actually worked out for him because, like Shaun mentioned, we were able to extend him. So that was huge for us. So now all we're missing is Chauncey Gardner. So hopefully we can get him coming. But I think the biggest thing that we grabbed that was really quiet was Rashad Penny. His last 10 games, 149 carries, 1,017 yards, 8 touchdowns, 6.8 yards per carry behind the Seahawks line. So it's a huge improvement offensively. But like I mentioned, it just depends on what kind of Penny we get. He can be hurt or he can be healthy and doing what he's doing. So I'm looking forward to it. And like I mentioned, all we're missing is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. And so wait, so did they officially did release him and then they signed him back? I missed that because I've been really busy today. They did officially release him.
They released him and he was like, all right, I'm gone. Where I'm going next. Mm-hmm. And everyone, so what I heard on Get Up this morning is they were in constant communication. Like Slay mentioned, and Toddy sent the YouTube video, but he was in some YouTube video just basically saying he doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to stay in Philly. And I think it showed, he was on the free market. He could have gone anywhere he wanted. The communication between them was constant. He wanted to come back. I mean, he did a deal for our deal. You scratch our back, we'll scratch your back. So it's crazy how it happened because we didn't know where he was going. Toddy was talking about him going to the Niners. That would have been my worst nightmare, losing him. We already lost Hargrave to you guys, and it just would have been horrible. But
just imagine having to hear it from Toddy. That's the worst part of it probably for you.
The absolute worst part.
And speaking of Toddy, he's watching on YouTube on his girlfriend Sophia's account. He said, "It's your boy on Soph's account. I'm sweating the last leg of this 5-teamer." He said he needs Penn State to get a W. So good luck, Jaevon. I hope that Penn State gets the W. And for everyone watching on YouTube and Twitter, especially on YouTube, while you're here, please give us a thumbs up, and it helps us continue to grow, and we really appreciate it. When it comes to the Eagles corners, you were saying obviously they still got to re-sign Chauncey, but what do you think about the Eagles' overall corner situation, getting Darius Slay back and then also getting Bradbury back?
Last year you can argue that we were the top corners we had the best corners back in the league, the cornerback duo. Slay was a Pro Bowler, and James Bradbury was a second team All Pro. So for James Bradbury to come in there and just fit like a glove, it was really good. And then Darius Slay is consistent. He doesn't have big numbers, but he's consistent. You're not going to throw his way. He led the league in deflections, or pass breakup. Excuse me, I'm thinking basketball, but Darius Slay and James Bradbury coming back, we lost a lot. So just the leadership aspect, and especially with Fletcher Cox coming back, we have those vets because we're going to have to fill a lot of these holes with young guys. So to bring back, a secondary like that, it's just going to make things easier for them. So I'm looking forward to seeing this duo back and seeing what they can do for year two.
And you really read my mind there, because that's the next thing I was going to ask you. Because, I could give my opinion about the Eagles, but you know way more about the Eagles than me. So I would rather just ask you questions about the Eagles, to be honest. And so the next question that I had for you was in regard to Fletcher Cox, because we touched on Jason Kelce on Monday and the fact that he is coming back for, what is it, a 13th year, a 14th year, but 14. So he's okay, so he's coming back, and it's going to be year 14, something like that. And also now you got Fletcher Cox coming back. He takes the hometown discount. And so can you just tell me more about what you think that impact is, like how significant that impact is to have a guy like Jason Kelce on offense and Fletcher Cox on defense? Because those are two veterans who have been there, done that, and they were both on the Super Bowl team, right? Obviously Jason was, and Fletcher was as well. So just tell me about how significant that impact is having those guys back.
Oh, it's going to be huge. Like we all talk about in the group chat, man. Football's one of the trenches. And like you said, they've been to the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. So for us to have these young guys like Jordan Davis, he would have been in and out of the lineup, just to have that consistent mentor, Fletcher Cox doesn't really have to go out there and do much, but as long as he's mentoring Jordan Davis, because we drafted him to fill that role. So this is just another year of experience for Jordan Davis to play along Fletcher Cox. And, this year he had 8 sacks, so it's not like he's really declining. Our defensive line is really insane. So for him to be kind of the fourth man part of it at this late in his career is huge for us. So just to have him returning, and then especially with Hargrave gone, this is going to be not a instant fix, but we be able to fill that hole.
And so you said Fox, and I think the reason why you said Fox is because we just watched the Kings win their 42nd game for the first time since 2006. We have a winning record, and I said to my friend Colin, it just doesn't feel real, because it doesn't feel real. And fingers crossed, knock on wood, that the playoffs are on their way next. Say what's up to our guy James as he says, "Yo, what's good? Light the beam." That thing is lit like the beam. So hold on real quick. I know we're here to talk football, Kevin, but I just have to tell you about something I observed today, because after the Kings game, they did their promotional thing for like Northwest Exterior, because they sponsored Lighting the Beam on the Kings postgame show. They showed Lighting the Beam, and they showed a black sky with the beam being lit. So obviously it wasn't from today, because the sky was still blue outside when they lit the beam. So it's been a lie this entire time. And I'm honestly kind of disappointed, because I thought that they were actually lighting the beam and showing us like a live cam.
Yo, that's funny you say that, because people like me who are Kings fans but don't live in Sacramento would have never known. I would have, thought it was dark. It's just the way it's going, but that's hilarious.
It's all been a lie. It's all been a lie. So what's up with our guy, James? We appreciate it. And also, so our guy, Toddy, he's chipping in. He said second best corner duo in the NFC East. Okay. So you got to let us know who the official best corner is, or best corners are. Is he saying the Cowboys, I guess?
He's saying the Cowgirls, man. They got a retirement home over there with Stephen Gilmore. He's doing good, but he's not Stephen Gilmore of old. Like I told you guys in the group chat, if this would have been 4 or 5 years ago, oh man, I'm hurting. This is a lockdown corner who's going to come in and do his thing, a defensive player of the year, like we talked about. but that's just not what he is now. And, people blame the Colts. The defense or the Cowboys aren't much better. They have the defense over there is spotty sometimes when you need it to be, but with Micah Parsons, they're going to have a lot of pressure, so they might look a lot better. But I think AJ Brown and Devontae Smith is going to get in that. I think it's going to be a nightmare. It's coming into a division where you're going to have to guard, and even with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, you're going to have to guard over here in the NFC West, or NFC East. So it's going to be interesting to see, but definitely they're not the number one duo.
And that's why I think it's so key for the Eagles to re-sign Gardner Johnson if they can get to his price, because that would be that third corner and that third member of the secondary. Because we just talked about the Cowboys and you mentioned two names, but the name that you didn't mention that kind of came on late in the season in his rookie year was Darren Bland out of Fresno State. Spent most of his career at Sacramento State. And, it was awesome for me to see a former Sacramento State football player really make it in the NFL after I think he was like a 5th round pick. And so he could eventually be I know I got my bias with Sac State, but he showed flashes. He could eventually be that third guy for the Cowboys. And then, Jaevon may be right. You don't want to believe it?
I don't want to believe it. I don't ever want to put someone down from the city, man, but I just don't see it happening, man. After the year we just had, I think we're just going to keep the momentum going. And the Cowboys got away with one. We had, like Shaun mentioned, we had Gardner Minshew. So this year, we're hoping for Jalen Hurts to stay healthy this year. And I'm thinking we're getting the brooms out, Shaun. So they can have whatever duo they want in the league.
We got Julian tuning in. He says, Gilmore, baby, let Jerry cook. Julian, apparently, the Cowgirls are about to get swept next year, so we'll see. And last YouTube comment I want to get to real quick is Emilio. He says, "Go Jimmy G, best QB in the AFC West now." I mean, obviously you're trolling, but I heard that Jimmy G's press conference got postponed, and the last time that a sports signing press conference got postponed, it was the San Francisco Giants and Carlos Correa, and then he ended up not signing with the Giants. So it's like
a crazy resemblance.
We will see if Jimmy G ends up being a Raider. I think he will. But anyways, just getting back to the Eagles, Kevin, just getting to the other signings. I know that you mentioned Rashad Penny. I apologize for not getting that on my list as well, because that's another key piece in the backfield. Maybe it's because he's a former Seattle Seahawk is why I just selectively forgot that. But anyways, now he goes to another Bird team. And so he's paired with Boston Scott in the backfield as he returns on a 1-year deal. Obviously, Miles Sanders departs. So what are your thoughts on that situation with the Eagles backfield so far, losing a guy in Miles Sanders? But I know you said in our group chat you're happy that he got paid. So
yeah, man, it's hurt to see Miles go. We got him as a 2nd round pick 4 or 5 years ago, and for the instant impact that he had coming in, it's going to be missed. He was a guy who did a lot for the community. He was a lovable guy. As you can see, everyone loved him. He posted the video and he's telling everybody how much he loves them and whatnot. So he's going to be missed for sure. But like you mentioned, we were able to bring in guys. I tell you guys all the time, we run by committee. So Miles is going to be missed. But even with Miles being a Pro Bowler, we still have to run by committee. And just a quick numbers game. Miles Sanders' 2023 salary is going to be $6.25 million. All of the Eagles running back in total will be 5.2. So it's a numbers game. I honestly think Howie's taking the impression or the impersonation that we have the number one line. Anyone can run behind it. So we're not going to pay big money for it. So now it really makes things interesting for the draft, because I definitely thought we might be going running back. So a lot of things are going to change now.
You still can. And, you mentioned Howie earlier. And one thing I want to say is I was talking with my friend Matthew, who's like, no offense, Kevin, but I think he may even be a more passionate Eagles fan than you, because he's kind of insane when it comes to Eagles. You will have to meet Matthew. I'll have to. We don't have the YouTube clips, but I'll have to send you some audio recordings from Shaun and Vaughn that are still up from when I had Matthew on, and there were a couple times when he was talking Philly and he was just going crazy. And so I'll have to. You got to meet him eventually. But anyways, I was talking to him and he sent me a tweet about the whole Darius Slay situation, and he was just saying this is why Howie is the best. He is just cooking. And I was like, man, Howie is playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers, because like the way that they did that whole Darius Slay situation, like saying they were going to cut him, see what his value was out there, see what other teams were willing to pay for him. And then they heard it. They were like, okay, we can pay a little bit less than that. Would you take this? And he's like, I would happily take this. Suddenly Darius Slay is back. It's just like Howie Roseman. I would love to hate on him. Like there's all those viral clips of him. There's that viral clip of him like cussing at the fans at a game last year. So like as an opposing rival team, I now consider the 49ers, considering they just played in the NFC Championship game. Eagles and 49ers are at the top of their conference, I would say. And so I look at the Eagles now as a rival, and I would love to hate on Howie, but I simply can't because he is just too good at his job.
Yeah, man. Howie's it's funny, man. The teams I pick, the GMs they go in waves, man. He's picked a lot. We've had a lot of picks that went wrong. We could have had DK Metcalf. We picked a pick ahead of Justin Jefferson. So there were so many other sleepers in the drafts that we just went wrong. And just like Andre Dillard, who's someone who let go in free agency, was a first round pick. So we weren't making the right decisions, but like you said, or like your friend said, Howie was cooking. And it started last year, man, in the draft. Trading for A.J. Brown was insane. Everyone was talking about the market and where he was going to go. For us to trade for him and sign him on the same day is Howie being Howie. And we were able to do it and trade a second, and now we have the Saints first. So Howie is cooking. The outcomes for us with the 10th pick is limitless. We could trade it for a player to help keep the dynasty going or start the dynasty. We have to win first. But we can bring somebody in. We can bring a proven vet that's going to help us immediately instead of bringing a young guy in. We could trade and get a first next year. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. I heard a hot take that the Bucs might want to be in business with us. So they might try to trade him and get a quarterback. So I was talking to one of my homies about that. But I was like, that would be crazy. They just signed Baker, but Baker's a bridge quarterback.
So, I mean, obviously, you probably saw Emilio's comment where he says, hopefully the Eagles get a top 3 easiest schedule again. Thoughts?
Did you see what I put in the group chat?
Didn't they have like the hardest schedule or something?
Yes,
I've been busy today, so I've kind of missed
schedule.
some stuff. So they got the hardest schedule now coming up, like the hardest schedule in the NFL?
Hardest schedule. So it goes.
Okay, so what's your prediction then? What's your prediction then? Just like off the top of your head, what would you say? Maybe like 12-5?
No, I think we could really only probably lose 2 games. We play the Chiefs, so that's got to be a toss-up. But for the most part, I don't think we have that hard of a schedule. Our division is what it is. I don't think it's very good. I don't think no other team has a chance to come out. So that's just the ego biased opinion. But I think we're going to be fine. We're, like I mentioned, we have the momentum from last year. We're bringing a lot of back. So I think we're going to be fine. It's interesting that the Niners had the 15th hardest schedule coming in next year.
That is
so
interesting.
Maybe we flip-flopped.
Right in the middle of the pack. And Wes says, LMAO skull in the chat. Wes, nobody wants to talk about the Vikings. Moving on. Real quickly, do you even care that Gardner Minshew signed with the Colts?
Not at all.
Okay. Just checking. So who would be the Eagles' backup now?
Darren Thompson Robinson, I believe his name is. They met with him.
Dorian Thompson
from UCLA.
Yep.
So they met with him. So I'm thinking he can fit right in. He was a gunslinger at UCLA. Leads the school records in touchdowns and yards, and obviously he's known as a dual threat. So he's able to run the ball. He'll be able to fit in seamlessly. But I'm definitely saying I definitely know Garner was better than him. But just a young guy, we don't have to pay him much, and we're just paying Jay. We're going to pay Jalen all this money. We don't need a backup. We're going to put it all on you, and hopefully, knocking on wood, you don't get hurt. So I think that's what we're going to do is get a quarterback in the draft. But I wouldn't be surprised. I definitely thought we were going to bring in Jacoby Brissett. I definitely thought he was coming to Philly. That would have been a perfect backup. But, he's in the division. And like I mentioned on the spot for all the loyal listeners, Washington is the place where careers go to die. So.
Damn, that just made me sad. I felt good for Jacoby Brissett, and then like my whole vibe just fell
it's Washington, man. But I mean, they do have Bentley. They have a new OC. He's going to get the reign, so we're going to see what that can do. They have the weapons. So
who's the number one weapon on that team?
Scary Terry, baby. OU.
The Ohio State University. Hold up, Kevin. OH.
What did I say? OU?
No. I just thought you were going to respond with.
I thought I said
okay. No, you're good. OH?
IO.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on. I just had to do that real quick. Among Ohio State fans, that's just like it's a necessity. You know, anytime I see someone like wearing like an Ohio State shirt, like no matter where I am, whether if I'm in Sacramento or I traveled somewhere and I see someone wearing an Ohio State shirt, I walk up to the person and I say OH. Half the time they say IO, the other times they just look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, all right, I just walk away. I'm like, okay. I guess not. Anyways, so now let's get to oh god, what did he say? I didn't even. I mean, I learned Wes that he's only a Buckeye fan for football. I thought he was like me, supporting all the teams. Apparently, he only supports Buckeye football. That
Wes
broke my heart a
loves
little
the
bit.
hoop team.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate it.
That's your
Why?
guy.
Wait, but Wes only likes the hoop team.
No, he likes all of them. He likes all teams.
Okay.
He likes everything.
Appreciate you, Wes. OHIO to you, Wes. I appreciate you, man. And so now, Kevin, it's time to get to the superior team in the NFC. That is the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers, they've been making a lot of moves too, but they've also been having a lot of players leave. And so I got 9 moves that the 49ers have made since Monday night. And so they are as follows. They signed center Jake Brendel to a 4-year deal. Emmanuel Mosley, he signed with the Lions on a 1-year deal worth $6 million, and he was their corner. That's for $6 million. I will just say, like, I'll get to all my thoughts after I read off the list, but I'll just say real quickly on Mosley, like him only signing for $6 million over 1 year, that disappoints me because I feel like the 49ers could have kept him at that price. Azeez Al-Shaair, their third string linebacker, or their third best linebacker, I would say. He signed with the Titans. I'm actually kind of happy for him because he gets more of an opportunity with the Titans because he was behind Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw. And then Samson Ebukam, he signed with the Colts on a 3-year deal worth $27 million. Goodbye. Good riddance. I don't care. The Titans signed Daniel Brunskill, former offensive lineman for the 49ers. I guess that takes away their depth. The Chiefs, they signed Charles Omenihu for 2 years, $20 million. Charles Omenihu, Kevin, is like one of those guys who was a project player, came in, played on that 49ers D-line, looked good, and now he'll probably go to the Chiefs and be mid. The 49ers, they signed former Raider Cleveland Farrell to a 1-year deal, former number 4 overall pick.
I think that's good. That's low-key huge pickup.
That could be huge. They restructured Fred Warner's deal, created $9.5 million in cap space, and they signed former Falcons cornerback Isaiah Oliver. So, Kevin, obviously, this isn't your team, but what are your thoughts on the guys who have left the 49ers, but also the guys that they brought in since Tuesday?
Oh, I mean, you guys are losing some big pieces, but you're bringing in some big pieces as well. So as much as you're losing, you're bringing in more. And then you guys are also having like you mentioned, Fred Warner creating some money to bring more guys in. So you guys are I think you guys will be fine. Bringing in Jaevon Hargrave is as much as I want to hate on it. It was a huge move. 11 sacks, a Pro Bowl snub. He's got to go in there with Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa and whoever that fourth guy's going to be. It could be Kellen Farrell. Is that how you say it?
Cleveland
Feller.
Yeah.
So like Shaun mentioned, Farrell, number 4 pick. So he can come in and see what we're going to do. But I definitely think you guys are going to be fine moving forward.
Yeah, I sure hope so. And so I want to talk a little bit more about Cleveland Farrell because that could be huge because former Raider didn't work out on their defensive line, but we look a couple years ago, the 49ers signed former 3rd-round pick of the Raiders, Arden Key. Arden Key seemed kind of like he was going to fall out of the league. 49ers, I think, signed him to a 1-year deal, and then suddenly he was a really good player again. I think that Cleveland Farrell, that could be the same exact case because you put him next to a Nick Bosa every once in a while or a Eric Armstead from Pleasant Grove High School. Or even the new guy, another new guy, Jaevon Hargraves, You put him next to one of those guys, life will become a lot easier than playing on the Raiders defensive line. And that's no shade on Max Crosby, but Max Crosby's the only guy on that Raiders defensive line. In one of my other group chats for a fantasy football league, a couple Raider fans were talking about that so much, just how Crosby's just by himself on that Raiders defensive line. And I think that's why Cleveland Farrell, like he wasn't able to break out. He could have been a compliment to Crosby. He wasn't able to do that. Maybe the 49ers system playing with guys like more than just one guy who is capable, like will really be an impact for him. So obviously, like I said, losing Emmanuel Mosley on a 1-year deal for $6 million, that kind of hurts. But I don't remember what the figures were for Isaiah Oliver, but I do know that he picked off Jimmy G when the 49ers played the Falcons. So I think he's pretty good from the 1-game sample size I remember seeing of Isaiah Oliver. So we'll see how he can do replacing Emmanuel Mosley. And I appreciate Fred Warner for restructuring his contract and saving us almost $10 million. That's kind of significant. Did you have any other thoughts on any of the moves of the 49ers? Because I think I'm ready to move on. You probably are.
I just had one question. Where did Cleveland go to school?
Clemson.
Did he? Yeah. He was on the team with Trevor. Yeah, no.
I think so. I think he was on a team with Trevor because Trevor was there for.
Or was he on that Justin Field when we played him with Justin? He might have been on that team.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just remember the pain, Kevin.
I'm just trying to remember him in college, man. Because for you to go number 4 and for me to just kind of not remember.
No. Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up because there's a good reason why he went number 4 and why you don't remember him. It's not just because his productivity in the NFL hasn't been up to number 4 overall pick standards or even first round pick standards. The reason why is because he was projected to come out of Clemson. He came out in the same draft as 2 other defensive linemen. I know one of them was Dexter Lawrence. And then another one got drafted like somewhere in the 20s. I don't remember who the third guy was, but Dexter Lawrence, I think, got drafted to the Giants or the Dolphins, something like that. And they were all coming out of Clemson, all off of that defensive line. And so anyways, the reason why he was the number 4 overall pick is because the Raiders' former regime of Mike Mayock, fresh off of NFL Network, and John Gruden, fresh off of ESPN, they reached for him. And it was considered a draft day head scratcher. Like, it was the move. I remember he got drafted fairly recently because I think Jaevon and I talked about him getting drafted so high on our previous podcast, Shaun and Vaughn. And tonight you guys are listening to Shaun and Kev on Stats Over Politics. But anyways, so I think Jaevon and I had talked about it in the past because I kind of remember having this discussion, and it's just like that was the reach. Probably the worst pick of the draft was them picking Clelin Ferrell at 4. And it's not because Clelin Ferrell wasn't a first-round talent. He was clearly a first-round talent, but he was more so in his peak would have been like 15. He was supposed to be probably in the 20s. Instead, they picked him at 4. So that's why you don't remember him. It's fair.
All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So now, as you guys are all tuned in to Stats Over Politics, episode number 20. I think I didn't say that yet. Episode number 20. Hey, we hit 2 tens. So that's pretty good. I was about to say 2 decades, but it doesn't work right. So anyways, episode number 20. Now we're moving on next to 30, then 40, then 50. Shaun and Vaughn lasted for 100 episodes. So I look forward to us getting to that 100 number and way further, Kevin. So congrats to episode number 20. And both of our guys hopefully will be back with us on Monday, and we'll all be reunited as our guy Garry has been working really hard as of late. So now, Kevin, let's get to NFL free agency in general. We alluded to it. You talked about it a little bit with Stephon Gilmore, but let's get into that one a little bit more. And so I got about 20 topics in the NFL from the NFL league wide. We just covered all the ones that cover the Eagles and the 49ers, but we can spend as much time, Kevin, as we want on each one of these. We could spend 30 seconds. We could spend 5 minutes, but let's start with the Colts trading quarterback Stephon Gilmore to the Cowboys. Former defensive player of the year. You and Jaevon were arguing about it. I think you said he was defensive player of the year like 4 years ago. So not that long ago, if my memory serves correctly. But anyways, Stephon Gilmore, still a pretty good player in the NFL. So he goes to your rivals. What do you think about this move? Just to anything else that you didn't say earlier?
It's interesting, man. He went for a 5th round pick. And it's like
interesting.
Julian said, let Jerry cook. It's a 5th round pick. Like as much as high as we think of him, he went for a 5th round pick. So it's not the Stephon Gilmore of old, but it's going to be huge, for Trayvon Diggs to get that kind of vet in the locker room. I talked about it, how much it meant for the Eagles to have those veterans. So for him to have that veteran, a lot of people say have mixed feelings on Trayvon Diggs. He was a Pro Bowler, but he also gave up the most yards. He had the most picks, and then he had a couple this year. So he's kind of been on a roller coaster year, and he's about to get paid. So for them to bring in Stephon Gilmore, he probably got another year or 2 left. but just to groom him and get him to that next level, as bad as I don't want to see it as an Eagles fan. He's got to get that mentoring, and Trayvon Diggs can definitely take that next step as a corner as soon as he departs. So I think it's going to be huge for the Cowboys locker room just to have another vet. Yeah, they have a lot of young guys. Micah's always ready to run into a podcast or to Twitter, and they just have a lot of young guys. So to bring in a vet, who's been there, played at the highest level, played with Tom Brady, so he's going to get the respect level as soon as he walks in on day one. So it's going to be huge for them.
I hope Julian's still watching because this is the primary Cowboys time right now. So they also re-signed Leighton Vander Esch. What do you think about them re-signing Leighton Vander Esch? Because I saw a lot of Cowboys fans that I follow. They seem pretty happy about it. His nickname's like, I forgot what his nickname was that they called him, but they said, "Oh, our guy's back," and they were super happy about Leighton Vander Esch. So, are you worried about Leighton Vander Esch as an Eagles fan?
He's been there for a while. I want to say his whole career, but I might not be sure about that.
It is. They drafted him.
So he's been on a roller coaster, like I mentioned before. But he is another guy who's going to come in there and be a leader. He's been there forever. I thought he was going to hit the open market and possibly go somewhere else. But it was interesting to see that they brought him back. So I think it's just going to go a long way, like I mentioned, for Micah Parsons to have another vet. He isn't on the Stephon Gilmore level of vet, but just to have that consistency going in the year 3 for Micah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he came with Smith. Yeah, so year 3. So just to bringing that another mentor for him. So I think it's going to be another huge impact for them.
Well, this is the hard part for both of us because we're both Ohio State fans, and Ezekiel Elliott. I touched up on Zeke a little bit when you were reconnecting your headphones, and I was just telling Julian how it really made me sad because a lot of people are saying Zeke is washed. Simply put, do you think Zeke is washed? In the official news, if you guys have been living under a rock, Ezekiel Elliott got released by the Cowboys. So, do you think that he's washed?
Man, it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say he's not washed after looking what we saw last time on the field. The last play of a Cowboy career, he hiked the football.
Center Ezekiel Elliott.
So, I think it's just a bad place for him. He started off really hot. He was there for 7 years. Had 10,498 all-purpose yards, led the league in rushing twice in 2016 and 2018. He ranks 3rd in franchise history in rushing yards and touchdowns behind Hall of Famers Emmitt Smith and Tony Dorsett. So you can't say he didn't have a great career. Midway through his career when he got his money, he went to, I want to say, Cabo, and he didn't want to go to training camp, and he got his money, and then it's kind of been on the downhill. But one of those years, Dak was hurt, so it's hard to really do things without a quarterback in this league, as we all know. So it's just the Cowboys, it's a lot of mediocrity over there, but I definitely think he can bounce back and go somewhere else. Like I mentioned, a lot of teams in the NFL run by committee. So I feel like if he gets in the right rotation with the right team, he can be a big piece for them.
Exactly. He doesn't need to be the bell cow anymore. And the thing that just breaks my heart the most about the running back position is it's such a valuable position. And there's so many people that want to play running back, so many kids that want to play running back when they're growing up. And then when they get to the highest level, and they used to be treated with respect, and now not so much anymore because we see how running backs, their careers don't have the longevity that other positions do, especially like quarterback. And so now we see running backs really being undervalued. And Zeke is one of the guys who got paid. But it just breaks my heart to see, because Zeke's been in the league for what? Not even 10 years. And he's already on the verge of being cooked or washed or whatever word we want to use to try to say that he's done. I don't think he's done. I agree with you that I think if he gets into the right situation, then he will be all right. Because I kind of see him as kind of similar to Jamal Williams, who we just saw have a career year with the Lions this past year. What did Jamal Williams do? He played opposite to I was about to say Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift. I was thinking way back on the Lions running backs there. Almost got into Barry Sanders territory. But anyways, he was playing opposite of DeAndre Swift, who was a running back who was like a pass catcher out of the backfield and a more versatile back, versus Jamal Williams, who would just pound it straight up the middle, more of a old school running back. I think Zeke could be that guy where he comes in, you're at the goal line, You're not like the Seahawks. You don't throw it from the 2-yard line. You punch it up the middle with a guy who can do it. And I see that as Zeke's role. Hopefully he finds a good landing spot. Just putting you on the spot, this isn't something that we planned, but if you had to pick a spot for, you already know.
I've thought about it.
Yeah, Philly. Yeah, you've already talked about this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Where should
I honestly think that it was the AFC. I would say Miami or Buffalo would be a really good spot for him. Miami with Jeff Wilson and Mostert, they can just have a running back tandem, a running back trio, and they can just go get it done. Like we mentioned, he doesn't have to be the bell cow back, so he can just go in there and get the job done when it's needed. But in Buffalo, I think that would be huge for them. They already run such a power game with Josh, so to have him back there would be insane. Or even a place like Tennessee. Could you imagine a backfield with Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott?
Weren't they shopping him though? Weren't they shopping Derrick Henry?
I heard that's been taken back. I heard he's staying. I heard that.
Okay.
Because I was wondering why there hasn't been no news. It's Derrick Henry. I know people say he's old and he's always hurt. It's Derrick Henry. One of these contenders can get rid of it first, and you would have heard him gone. But they had mentioned it on one of the shows I was watching, so I was honestly pretty interesting because I thought, like I mentioned, you would hear some news about it.
Yeah, for sure. Because, like you said, it's Derrick Henry. So staying in the running back conversation, but on a much more minor note, no offense to this man, but Samaje Perine, he signed with the Broncos on a 2-year deal worth $7.5 million. Do you think that that's a significant move at all for the Broncos?
Jamal Williams, not Jamal. Jamal Williams is his name, yeah? The rookie?
No.
Javonte.
Oh,
Williams,
yeah.
Broncos.
Correct.
Javonte
yes.
Williams. He went down last year, and Melvin Gordon really wasn't able to do that. So to bring in a backup like him, we saw last year with when Mixon went down, he was able to pick it up, and I really want to give Samaje some love because I picked him up in fantasy. So he showed me a lot of love. So I definitely think that's going to be huge for the Broncos, just in case if Javonte ever goes down. Like we mentioned, everyone's running by committee. So this is definitely a really good number 2 running back.
I agree with you because hopefully Javonte can get back to what he was. And you also mentioned Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, he had the best case scenario in the world. Like he was giving Russ that look on the sideline on that Thursday night game. I think it was against the Colts when it was like 12-9. And he just gave Russell Wilson that look of like disgust. And then he ended up getting released. And then he got to sign with the Chiefs and basically get a free ride to a Super Bowl. Pretty good. I mean, he saw the LaShawn McCoy playbook.
He got an A+ on the group project for doing nothing.
100%.
So, and he let everybody know. He let everybody know on Twitter after they won, and it's hilarious, man. He reminds me of Eli Apple, but Eli Apple actually played. So it's like Eli Apple could say a little bit, but it's still hilarious. But you didn't even touch the field in the Super Bowl. The pictures you took after the game were in street clothes. You didn't do anything to affect that game. So, but good for him.
Yeah, for sure. And respect to Eli Apple, our guy from the Ohio State University. Anytime I get a chance to be do you think it's obnoxious that us Ohio State fans say the Ohio State University? Because a lot of people tell me it's obnoxious, and that makes me want to do it even more. And that's why I'm a little excessive with it. And it's like any chance I get to just say it, I say it.
You have to, man. I love it. So it just puts the emphasis on who we're talking about. It's the Ohio State. So when you say it, when you hear it, ears turn.
Damn right. So Andy Dalton, he signed with the Panthers for 2 years, $10 million, $8 million of it guaranteed. Is he the starter now? Like, is he the bridge quarterback, I guess?
I've been thinking about this a lot. They made the move with the Bears, like we mentioned last podcast, to get the number 1 pick. So I don't know what they're going to do. I definitely hope they don't bridge him. Andy Dalton, I wouldn't say is the best bridge quarterback, but no one thought Alex Smith would be good as a bridge for Patrick Mahomes. So it's up there. I think it depends on who they get. If they get Anthony Richardson, I think they might sit him for a year. But I think if they go Bryce or CJ, maybe even Will, I think they'll get the reins from day one.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think the Alex Smith comparison isn't a bad one because I was listening to the ESPN Daily podcast earlier, and they were talking about the Aaron Rodgers situation and the transition potentially to Jordan Love. And the analyst who was on there, he was giving an example, and he said, I don't mean to hate on this guy. He is just the example, and he said, Andy Dalton, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, Andy Dalton is like the prime example of a mid quarterback. Like, he's not bad. He's not good. Like, he's solid. And like, you can count on him to be your starting quarterback if that's the best option. Andy Dalton basically presents that for the Carolina Panthers now. And if it ends up being CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Andy Dalton could hold it down for a little bit. And if he does end up being the starter again, I'm happy for Andy, because he thugged it out as a backup for a couple years with the Cowboys, with the Saints. So maybe he gets another shot. The Lions, they signed former Bears running back David Montgomery for 3 years, $18 million. Do you think that that's a good replacement for Jamal Williams, getting David Montgomery? Because I kind of see David Montgomery very similar to a DeAndre Swift, and not like the opposite, like a Jamal Williams was.
I think that's going to be huge for them. Just coming in and filling that role for Jamal Williams. DeAndre Swift gets hurt a lot. So just to have that running back number two, a really good running back number two. Last episode, we showed him, we gave him his flowers when Toddy just tried to say it was all Justin Fields, man. David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, they're their thing in that running game. So this is a low-key huge pickup. They got him for 3 years, $18 million. So I think that's just a good safety net just in case if Swift ever goes down again. And even if he doesn't go down, they run by committee over there. So.
And another name that you mentioned earlier, another running back, is Jeff Wilson, as he stayed with the Dolphins on a 2-year deal with $8.2 million. As we know, Jeff Wilson signed with the Dolphins midseason last year because he was with the 49ers. He was doing great for us. He started as our backup. Elijah Mitchell got hurt again, and so he stepped in. Jeff Wilson was balling out, but then, I mean, no offense to Jeff Wilson, we upgraded. We got CMC. And respect to Jeff Wilson, he said, I know what my role is now, and I would rather go to a team where I can thrive. He goes to basically the best case scenario. Kyle Shanahan just gifts him to his buddy Mike McDaniel, who runs the same offense as him. And then Jeff Wilson got to basically just walk into the same team, basically. Obviously not as good, but running the same playbook, and he got to be a starter. So good for Jeff Wilson, and now he resigns. And I think Jeff Wilson's the guy in that backfield, right? Like, he's the number one. Raheem Mostert is probably the number two now, and then maybe if a Zeke comes in, I still think Zeke would be like a 2, and you got to have Jeff Wilson be that number 1, because he kind of proved it last year that he could be him.
100%. Like you mentioned, when Elijah Mitchell went down, it was the Jeff Wilson show. So he definitely showed that he could play at this level to go over that midseason and have the impact he did have. So we can only just imagine a full offseason. And, now that, like you've been, Raheem Mostert kind of on his way out, he's still consistent, but he's not Raheem Mostert of old. So for Jeff Wilson, I think this is a great opportunity for him to show that he's going to be RB1.
Yeah, for sure. And now the next move is that the Colts, they released Matt Ryan. Is he done? Is he going to end up being like a backup now, or is he done?
Matty Ice, man.
Former MVP.
28-3, man. That's all I remember for.
Ugh, I know.
That's
sad.
all I remember for. It's sad. He was so good in Atlanta. So him and Julio, I think he's done, man. Unless he wants to go and play a backup. I don't think he wants to play a backup. All these guys want to play. And I think it's just, adding on to the end of a generation, man. It's all the quarterbacks we watched growing up are on the way out. So I think Matt Ryan, unless he wants to sit there and be the mentor role or sit in the mentor role, I think he's going to retire and just walk off into the sunset.
So the last team that this quarterback played for in the NFL was the Atlanta Falcons, as he played alongside Matt Ryan as his backup. This isn't Sean's pop quiz, but could you guess which quarterback this is? That he's now in the XFL, and his last team he played on was the Atlanta Falcons in the NFL. If you had to guess which quarterback this is, who do you think it is?
Is it AJ McCarron?
It's AJ McCarron. Nice job. So the reason why I bring up AJ McCarron is because him and Matt Ryan were teammates his last year in the NFL when he was backing him up in 2021. Matt Ryan could call him up, be like, hey, AJ, I see that you went to the XFL because you wanted to be a starter again and you wanted your kids to see you play a little bit longer. How's that going? Should I do it? XFL, Matt Ryan, XFL, Matty. Okay, if Matt Ryan is done, I mean, that that I was kind of joking, but I was also kind of half serious with that. But all jokes aside, if Matt Ryan is done, is he a Hall of Famer?
You'd have to talk to the right guy. To me, I don't think so. That you'd have to look at the numbers. I mean, I know he put up crazy numbers when you have a monster like Julio Jones. I really compare him to the Matthew Stafford role. He was in such a place of mediocrity and inconsistency, and he really wasn't able to shine, but they were still able to get theirs. They were still Pro Bowlers, and they were still able to put up their numbers. So at the end of the day, maybe, I think, but it's not going to be first ballot. I think he's definitely going to wait a while, but I mean, a lot of people get in that I don't think should get in, so maybe. But I guarantee it's going to take a while if he does get in.
He might have a case, honestly. I agree with you that no way in hell is he a first ballot Hall of Famer. Probably got to wait at least 5-10 years. But I think he has a case because I haven't looked at his Wikipedia page recently. And I'm just taking a glance at it right now. Obviously, he's got the MVP. That same year, he won the Offensive Player of the Year. He also won Offensive Player of the Year in 2008. Okay, the year he won MVP, he was first team All-Pro. 4-time Pro Bowler. That's not that much. They seem to just give away Pro Bowls, so that's not that much. But, I mean, okay, so he was the NFL passer rating leader in 2016. So a lot of stuff from 2016. But in 2017, he was the NFL completion percentage leader. He made the All-Rookie team. He won a lot of he won a lot of awards in college as well when he was at Boston College. And so I think he has a case, but like you said, man, 28-3. It's hard to get that 28-3 stank off of him. So we'll see. But first of all, we'll see if he's even done. Because like you said, he could embrace that backup role rather than having because his kids have probably seen, unless his kids are really young,
definitely.
His kids have seen him as a starting quarterback in the NFL enough. Rather than compared to an AJ McCarron, who was a starter in college, got in the league, basically became a backup right away. And
his kids know Matty Ice.
That's a fact.
But I mean, I looked up his numbers, man. 62,000 yards, 62,792 yards, 381 touchdowns, a career percentage of 66% on his passes. He has the numbers, so we knew that coming in. So it could be up there. I think it's going to be interesting, but we'll have to just wait and see.
But the thing is about that, though, is like, because you mentioned it earlier, that guy he was throwing to for a lot of those yards, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Easy.
Will they give it to Matty Ice? No, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Will he eventually get in? We'll have to see. I feel like that would be a good question for a Falcons fan. Because Falcons fans, people in Atlanta, like, they are honest. And so it's like, they wouldn't, I feel like a Falcons fan wouldn't give you like the typical homer answer where it's like, oh yeah, of course, NFL MVP took us to a Super Bowl. He was up by 25 points at the Super Bowl. Like, he is a Hall of Famer. Yeah, no, Falcons fans would be real. So I feel like, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, as I said. Now, moving on to what I like to call the semi-local team, because as we know, they're no longer located in the Bay Area anymore, or even the state of California. That is the Las Vegas Raiders. As I don't get it. I don't get it. Unless they're just starting a complete rebuild. I don't get it, Kevin. And what I don't get is that the Raiders traded their Pro Bowl tight end, Darren Waller, to the Giants for a 2023 third round pick, which is pick number 100. And the Giants end up looking good in the end because they traded Kadarius Toney for that third round pick, and they looked kind of bad when Kadarius Toney was looking really good on the Chiefs. They turned that pick into Darren Waller. You look all right. And, you know, Kadarius Toney, he's a talented player, but I think I personally, like, injuries are a factor, so you have to remember that. But I personally would rather have a Darren Waller on my team than a Kadarius Toney. So great move for the Giants. First of all, because we are on the West Coast, I want to ask you about the Raiders' perspective first, and then give us your thoughts on what kind of move this is for the Giants, your rivals.
I don't know what the Raiders are thinking, man. Like you mentioned, it questions if they're going into a rebuild. That means, you know, Devontae Adams on the board, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow, and kind of just the floodgates open. You know, it's crazy to me because Jacoby Myers signed the same contract as Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think that is disrespectful. You know how
to
I
who?
feel about
to who?
To Jacoby. And it's funny. He came out and said, you know, I threw them the ball and they threw me a bag. So I think Jacoby's going to be good. He's going to be a good wide receiver 3. Hunter Renfrow is in and out of the lineup. So just to have him be there along Devontae Adams, they're going to have questioned the tight end position. So I don't know how that's going to play out. But from a Giants perspective, I know a lot of them are really hyped. They think Darren Waller is going to come in and save the day. But like we mentioned, man, you can either get Pro Bowl Darren Waller or you can get injured Darren Waller. And, last year or not last year, 2 years ago, he played 10 games and he had an okay season, but injuries have been consistent with him since he's been in the league. So if they can get a healthy Darren Waller for Daniel Jones to honestly be a number one target. And I wanted to ask you a question about that. Is Darren Waller Daniel Jones' best weapon he's ever had?
He's ever had? Did he never play with Odell?
Mm-mm.
I thought he played with Odell for a year. No,
he did?
Came along after.
I think he came after.
Okay, well, I honestly have no idea. So you're right. Yeah, because Odell did spend a couple years with the Browns. So, oh man. Well, I mean, I guess if you consider like just straight up as a receiver, because I still think Saquon is a better weapon.
100%.
But
that's what I was thinking.
Because I think about Saquon coming out of the backfield, but if we are talking about just a true positionary receiver, basically that a tight end is, I say yeah, he is. He's the best guy running down the middle that you had on that team or on the outside. But Saquon to me is still a better overall weapon, and they franchised him now, so I guess they'll be keeping him around. But Saquon and Darren Waller, I mean. Brian Daboll, he's not a bad coach. So now tell me, Kevin, are you a little bit worried about the Giants now? I mean, I know that the Eagles absolutely handled him last year, but Darren Waller isn't anything to scoff at.
Maybe if he was coming in to throw the ball, I'd be a little worried. But they still have Daniel Jones back there, so we're not really worried about it. But I definitely think Saquon's the best weapon he's ever had. It was just crazy to hear people say that Darren Waller was, because Saquon, when he's healthy, can do so much for a team.
And when Andy Dalton retires, Daniel Jones will be the guy who is known as Mr. Mid. That's what I think, and I agree with you. So
Darren Waller still top 5?
Yeah, because there's just not
really.
Because if he is healthy, yes, 100%. And I am a guy who was jaded by Darren Waller last year because my cousin, he pretty much convinced me to trade Mike Evans for Darren Waller at the beginning of last season. Worked out terrible for me because Darren Waller was hurt for basically the rest of the season. I still think he's a top 5 tight end because, I mean, let's get into it right now, Kevin. So we got Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, and then I know you're going to say Dallas Goedert.
He doesn't have his 4, but he's definitely in there.
Okay.
Kyle Pitts.
But you would put Dallas Goedert ahead of Darren Waller. Okay. Kyle Pitts,
TJ Hawkinson,
TJ
Hawkinson.
Yeah, Hawkinson.
Flo Kmet balled out last year. I'm gonna say he's top 5, but they have a lot of up and coming guys. I think Darren Waller honestly fell out of the mix.
I also feel like you may be leaning on a little bit of recency bias because you haven't seen Darren Waller. You haven't seen him. I actually got to see him fairly recently when he scored a touchdown on my 49ers. So I still remember what Darren Waller can do pretty freshly in my brain from December, or that was January. So a couple months ago. But you're right, though. That's a decent argument because he might be outside of the top 5 at this point. So we shall see. I guess we'll see if he can stay healthy, first of all. And Jacoby Myers, that is an interesting deal for the Raiders, getting Jacoby Myers, because they're basically the Patriots of the West, or the Las Vegas Patriots, the New England Raiders. Josh McDaniels is just bringing it. They have like 6-7 former Patriots who were with not just played on the Patriots at some point in their career, former Patriots when Josh McDaniels was there. Like
back to the cheating days.
I guess so. He said that this trying to just win the games just is too hard. It just doesn't work for him. So, he's got to try his different methods. And so something that was kind of funny about Jacoby Myers, I mean, I don't think it's funny that Jacoby Myers feels disrespected by the Patriots, but something I did think was funny is that, number one, he was kind of like going at Adam Schefter and saying that Schefter was a clown a couple days before, because I was looking at his timeline the other day when he signed. But the thing that I was bringing up is that, number one, he was only quote tweeting everything from Ian Rappaport, wouldn't even touch Schefter's tweets. But also, number two, he when he the latest tweet that he quoted was when Juju signed, and he like basically, I think he just said like LOL like on the tweet or something like that, because like you said, Juju got paid the same amount as him. Apparently they didn't want to pay Jacoby that, but they will pay Juju that, I guess. I mean, we'll get to Juju in a little bit. He's a little bit further down the list. But yeah, the Raiders, they get rid of Darren Waller, and then they signed the guy who threw the ball backwards on a potential game-winning play. Raiders going to raise.
He really thought he was going to tackle him.
Yeah, no, that was terrible. Chandler Jones absolutely just ran his ass over. All right, so this is an interesting one. The Buccaneers signed Baker Mayfield. Is he just a bridge quarterback? Is he trying to resurrect his career? Is Kyle Trask just going to beat him out for the job in training camp? Like, what do you think about this?
The last we saw of Baker, man, as much as a Baker hater as I am, he went out there and balled out. You know, he was playing with the Rams. You know, it wasn't the Rams of old. You know, he was playing with scraps and out there. He came in on a Monday. They played Monday night. Came in, got the dub, and I feel like that was a perfect situation for him with Shaun McVay. Just the two offensive-minded guys, and I think that really would have worked out for him. But for him to be with the Bucs, they have the O-line, they have the weapons. They just need the quarterback. They're a team that can compete. That division with the quarterbacks is already a question mark. So Baker could go in there from day one and be the best quarterback in that division. I mean, it depends what you think about Derek Carr, but it's going to be a toss-up. So he can go out there and, you know, he has the weapons. Mike Evans hasn't had a year without 1,000 yards. And then you got Chris Godwin. Last year was coming off ACL. This year will be coming in off a full year of recovery. He'll be able to do a full year training camp, so he'll be rolling in 100%. So they let go of Lenny, but they have Rashad White, and he really stepped up for them big, and he was a big weapon for Tom. So I'm not saying he's going to fit in like Tom Brady, but the Bucs can still be relevant with Baker Mayfield, in my opinion. That
division is wide open, like you said. So I guess we'll wait and see. I'm not going to be one of those guys caught. Not that a lot of people are watching right now, but I'm not going to be one of those guys caught on freezing cold takes, like giving a bad take about Baker Mayfield right now. Like, I'm not going to be like Max Kellerman saying that Tom Brady was done. Because like you said, Baker Mayfield showed us enough. He showed us enough. He wasn't lighting the world on fire, but he showed us enough to make us wait and see. I agree with you, Kevin, that we'll have to wait and see on that. Jordan Poyer, cornerback, or no, he's a safety. He re-signed with the Buffalo Bills. What do you think about that move?
You know, just that secondary's been hurt a lot, and the Bills have always been right there. So I believe that they think they have what they have, and what they have in that building is working for them. So they're trying to bring everybody back. I know they lost Tremaine Edmonds, but I feel like they're just trying to keep everybody in-house and just have that leadership role, because he's been there, I believe, his whole career. So just to have that backfield with him and Michael Hyde, just having that consistency, I think is going to go a long way for the Bills.
You should have trusted your gut. You had it right the first time. Micah Hyde, not Michael. Micah. But yeah, no, I agree. Oh, did you hear that? Did you just hear something? Maybe I just did. I think my headphones might have just died. I heard something in my headphones. Maybe my headphones just died. I don't know. Can you say something real quick?
Something.
Okay, no, I'm good. I might have just pressed the button on my headphones. I'm spazzing out. I'm sorry.
No.
Anyways, I kind of buried the lead here, and that's on me with the rundown. But the biggest news from NFL free agency was Aaron going on the Pat McAfee show and saying that after his darkness, he went into the darkness and he had intended to retire. He thought he was going to be done, retire a Green Bay Packer, all those good things. Then when he came out of the darkness, he got 1 bar of Wi-Fi, checked his email, text messages. Apparently, the Packers had changed their minds on what they wanted to do with him. And so then he said, oh, they don't want me anymore? I'm going to fucking play then. And he says that he intends to play for the New York Jets, 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 as people in New York, New Jersey, all over that area were going insane that Aaron Rodgers says that he's going to play for the Jets. And apparently he is just following. Kevin, you and I were joking about this. It went over Jaevon's head like 3-4 times. but apparently he may be following the Brett Favre path, and
Wes is
maybe
still in
our
here.
guy Wes, I don't know. Well, there's two people watching right now. We appreciate you two people. Hopefully one of them is Wes, because he said Skull was in the chat. Wes, a year or two from now, you may be very excited if Aaron Rodgers is headed to Minnesota. That's if he follows the Brett Favre plan to a T. But Brett Favre has done some not great things, so I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would want to do that. Anyways, he said he intends to play for the Jets, but it's all pending trade compensation. First and foremost, Kevin, before we get into anything, because right now it's technically a hypothetical. Even Blue thinks it's a hypothetical. So I'm just wondering, first and foremost, do we think that the Packers and the Jets are going to actually get the job done and that they're actually going to complete a trade? Or do you think that it all falls apart and then Aaron Rodgers is forever mad?
I think they have to get the deal done. You know, to go on the Paul McAfee show, that's such a huge platform. It was viral as soon as he had mentioned that he was coming on the show. So everyone was sitting by. We talked about in the group chat how we were patiently waiting for him to say something. So for him to go out there and publicly say that, all his Packers teammates were tuned into that. You can't have him go back to the locker room. You know, he publicly said it. It's not a rumor. He said, I want to go somewhere else. So if you bring them back to that locker room, they already have a young locker room. How is that going to play on them? So I think they have to get a deal done now.
Yeah, I agree. And we were two of like 500,000 people who were tuned into the Pat McAfee show to see Aaron Rodgers' supposed decision. And I'm just glad that we actually got something, because in the first like 5 to 10 minutes, I was like, did he just come on here to say nothing? Because Aaron Rodgers is really good at that. He's really good at saying a lot, and all of that, what he just said, meant absolutely nothing. And he's just taking us around in circles. And so I'm glad that he said something of substance. And so I agree with you. I think they do get the deal done. Now let's kind of evaluate it. Where do we see the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers? Do they win the AFC East? Do they win the AFC? Do they win the Super Bowl? Jets fans are going crazy. They think all of that is possible. For you, as a not Jets fan, level-headed, what do you think about the real possibilities for Aaron Rodgers in New York?
So it's definitely the second best quarterback in the division. So it's going to be a toss-up. No games are going to be easy. With Bill Belichick, he's going to go against one of the hardest defense or the best, arguably, defensive coach ever, twice a year. You got to go into the weather. I mean, he played in Lambeau, so it's going to be fine. But Buffalo snow is insane. They got to shovel it, and so it's a lot in Buffalo. So I think it's I don't know, man. I would say they could win the division, but it's Josh Allen and the Bills. But the Saints, I think it all comes down to the Jets defense. So the Jets defense can show that it wasn't a fluke. I think they can go very far. And a stat that I heard earlier is that when Aaron Rodgers did win a Super Bowl, he had a top 5 defense. So I think it all comes down to his defense. The offense is going to be there with Nathaniel Hackett coming back. Aaron Rodgers got all his friends a job. He even got his coach another job. I wasn't expecting to hear Nathaniel Hackett getting announced as anything for a while after the Broncos, fell apart, and he was the lead man behind that. So I think that the Jets are going to go really far. It just all really rides on the defense. The Lazard pickup, I think, could be huge. They had a wide receiver 2 issue. We already know what the wide receiver 1 is looking like over there with Garry Wilson, Rookie of the Year. So I think they're just going to be able to build on that. And for him to have Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball is going to be insane. And I think this is going to be a huge jump for him. I know he's only been in the league for 2 years or 1 year going in on a second, but I think he's going to have a huge sophomore campaign.
I think that they win the division. I think that they win the division because I feel like the Bills, they have been expected to win the AFC or go to the Super Bowl at least for the last 3-4 years, and they keep having letdown after letdown after letdown. I'm not saying that the Bills next year aren't going to do anything. They could advance throughout the playoffs as a wild card. But I think there's just something in my gut that just tells me that when Aaron Rodgers came out of the darkness and he found out that the Packers wanted to move on from him, that lit a fire under him to really because we saw the last time that a fire was lit under him, and that was when they drafted Jordan Love. And then he went on to win back-to-back MVPs, and now he's a 4-time MVP. And so I think him having a fire lit under him, I don't think he's going to win MVP again. But I think that the Jets are going to win the division. Do I think that they're going to win a conference championship? Do I think that they're going to win a Super Bowl? Hell no. Because Aaron Rodgers is an amazing regular season quarterback. His record in the playoffs is awful. Hey, but I mean, hey, I would say, yeah, besides that one run, I would say that maybe he'd have a better shot in the AFC because then he doesn't have to run into the 49ers and get eliminated by the 49ers all the time anymore. That's a fair point. But now you're playing in the AFC with all of those amazing quarterbacks. The NFC basically has 0 quarterbacks by comparison. The AFC has all of the young, talented quarterbacks. And so, no, I don't think that they're going to win a Super Bowl with him there. I don't even think they would go to a Super Bowl. But winning the division, I think that will happen.
That's a hot take.
Okay, we shall see.
We're going to see what Josh Allen thinks about that.
Oh, I hope that I motivate Josh Allen because I'm going to try to draft him in fantasy. So a motivated Josh Allen would be good news for me and possibly you.
What round do you usually draft a quarterback?
It's shit, man. It's just gotten earlier and earlier the last couple of years.
I was talking to Alyssa about that. They're going so early now. It's hard.
So I'll just say a quick tangent that I started like a really small league of 6 people with my like friends from high school a couple years ago, just because they all had never played fantasy. They wanted to. And so we just had a league and they all drafted quarterbacks all in the first round. It was like first pick, Josh Allen, second pick, Patrick Mahomes, third pick, Jalen Hurts. And I was laughing my ass off because I was just like, I'm going to get Justin Herbert in the 10th round. This is hilarious. And I got so many great running backs and wide receivers and tight ends. And it worked out for me that year. I ended up winning the league, but it's because I played with a bunch of newbies. But then I've seen that slowly evolve and transition into all of my leagues. And now there are guys getting drafted in the 2nd and 3rd round, which I never thought would. Yeah. Last year it was Mahomes getting drafted in my main league that I'm commissioner of. And it's a solid league. They had Mahomes get drafted in the 2nd round and Josh Allen got drafted in the 3rd round. And that's like an actual big boy league. It's not just some newbie league. Like, so to answer your question, I feel like I got to go. If I want one of those top tier guys, I got to go for them in the 2nd and 3rd round.
It's going to change everything.
It kind of relates to the question about like, how high should you draft a tight end? Because there's Travis Kelce and then there's a huge gap. And then there's the number 2 tight end. And so Travis Kelce basically became a number 1 tight end last year. And so it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it though. Football season is around the corner before we know it. Like the season just ended and before we know it, training camp will be started and then we'll just be head into it right again. All right, Kevin, let's get through these last couple of topics that we have. We've kind of alluded and kind of skimmed on a couple of these guys, so it may not take us too long to talk about these guys. First of all, I mean, just get what you need to off of your chest about Juju because he signed a 3-year deal worth $33 million with the Patriots. Like, is Juju? First of all, I know you got a lot to say, but the initial question that just came to my mind is Juju even going to work like in New England under Bill Belichick? Like, is he going to get Bill Belichick to join him with his TikToks? Like, it just doesn't seem like that's a good fit for me.
You know, it's kind of like when they brought in Cam, you know, someone with such a big off-field presence, he wears emotion on his sleeves. You can just show it. He's just a big influencer. You know, he's doing everything. He's doing the TikTok dances, millions of followers. That's what he's known for. You know, the TikTok boy. And for him to go out there and, you know, kind of embarrass the Eagles more and kicking them while they're down. And for someone who didn't really do anything, if it's not for that holds call, it's a whole different game. So, I mean, yeah, you won your team the game, but you didn't really do a lot this season. You kind of got an A+ on a group project, and you have Patrick Mahomes. Like they let go of Tyreek Hill and still went to a Super Bowl. It's not because they brought in Juju Smith-Schuster. I honestly think since his Steelers days, he's kind of been overrated. Ever since he's gotten into the NFL, it's kind of been a decrease. You know, coming in and being wide receiver 2 to a prime Antonio Brown, anyone's going to look good. You're not even on the scouting report. So, you know, now that, you know, he's honestly probably going to be wide receiver 1 over there. And we've seen the struggles with Mac and that offense. I don't even know if they brought in an offensive coordinator this year. So that's going to be interesting, or a real offensive-minded coach. So we'll see what that does for his development for Mac Jones, but it's the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point there because they had his name escapes me right now. The guy who used to coach the Lions, and now, but before that, he coached. Oh my God, his name is gonna pop into my head later on, and I'm gonna be kicking myself. But anyways, they got the big white dude with the big long beard who used to coach the Lions. Before he coached the Lions, he was coaching the Patriots defense. Then he got fired by the Lions because he was a bad head coach. Matt Patricia, thank you.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, like, damn, who's he talking about?
Yeah, Matt Patricia. I had to think my brain for a second because I'm just glad that I thought of his name while I was still talking about him. So he was a defensive coordinator for the Patriots. Did a good job. Patriots won a Super Bowl. Got hired to be the Lions head coach. Completely failed as the Lions head coach. Now we see a guy in Dan Campbell actually succeeding, and it just shows even more how much of a failure Matt Patricia was as a head coach. And then he gets to go back to New England, and then Bill Belichick says, instead of defense, I'm going to have you coach my offense. Just doesn't make sense. I always thought that McCorkle wasn't going to be a great NFL quarterback, and that's why I was just adamant when the 49ers had the 3rd overall pick. Pick anyone except for Mac Jones. I would be happy. And they did. I was happy. And when they made that pick, I literally screamed, yes, it's not Mac Jones. Didn't really care that it was Trey Lance. I just said, yes, it's not Mac Jones. And so for all of my Mac Jones disdain, he was set up to fail with Matt Patricia as his offensive coordinator. What do you want the guy to do? I don't know. So I guess we'll have to see. And, I will say real quickly that I thought Juju, the Valentine meme, I personally thought the first one, the first shot, yes, Eagle fans and the whole team was still hurt after, and it was too soon, but I thought it was hilarious. Everything he did after that, all the talking and the video that he made, all of that, everything after the meme was too much, and he just needed to stop. But I thought the meme was fucking hilarious, personally.
I bet you did.
Kevin doesn't want to talk
Dude,
about
I was
it
so
anymore.
hurt when I saw that. He was like, I always hold you at the right time or something, or it was heartbreaking to see.
Jaevon gives us an update that Penn State is up 20, baby. So Jaevon's parlay is about to hit. I hope by winning that parlay, Jaevon, that you buy your grandma her dinner. So good job. Up 20. So nice job. I hope that ends up hitting and that he didn't just jinx it by saying up 20.
And beating Texas A&M. So that's a huge win.
Oh, that's gonna destroy my bracket. I have
Dude,
Texas
my bracket's
A&M.
been destroyed.
Yeah,
2 o'clock, maybe 3.
I'm so checked out. I was texting with you earlier. I'm just so checked out from the men's side. I mean, I saw the Furman game winner. That was cool, but I'm just not. I mean, and also Arizona got knocked off in Sacramento by Princeton, so that was kind of cool. We're gonna get into all of that on Monday, though. So just sticking to the NFL free agency, so Kevin and I can call this a wrap. The next move, we talked about this guy earlier. You said his career might end up dying. That is the Commanders signing Jacoby Brissett. Is he going to be the starter now, beat out Sam Howell, or are they going to have him be the backup for Sam Howell?
They've come out and said they want Sam Howell to be the guy. But I think they're not a bad team. They're in a position to where they can compete now. Just think about it. In the COVID year, they won the division. Tom Brady had to go there to win a playoff game. So they were just a year separated from that. They just got to get healthy, man, with Chase Young coming back. Hopefully he can get back to what he's used to doing. So I think Jacoby will go in there and start right away. But I wouldn't be surprised if they let Sam Howell go, and then if he struggles, go with the opposite direction.
I know one thing for sure. Eric Bieniemy isn't there to waste time, so he is going to go with whoever the best option is. Whether if it's Sam Howell or if it's Jacoby Brissett, he's going to go with their best option. And so I wish Jacoby Brissett, I wish him luck, because I don't want his career to die just yet. He's a good quarterback. I really like Jacoby Brissett because he came into the league. He was a third stringer for the Patriots, and then he was kind of a perennial backup, and he's been able to stay alive. And also Jaevon says, just know, Kevin, I had Duke on there. Yeah, I know, Jaevon. I was wrong. I mentioned it at the beginning. I'll take my L on Monday. But yeah, I really hope, I wish the best for Jacoby Brissett for sure. So now another former Brown in Jadeveon Clowney, as he was released by Cleveland. Is Jadeveon Clowney done?
Dude, I thought he was done a long time ago. He's just that bug that just won't go away. He shows the consistency. He Didn't even finish the year with them, so it's interesting to see him get released. But I don't know what he's gonna do, man. I think he should just call it a career. But he can go into a place, not saying like the Eagles, but a place that has a rotation. So he's not gonna be the starter, but he can go in there and be a rotation guy. And when a guy needs a couple of snaps, go ahead and send him out there. And I think he can still impact the team, but just definitely on a lesser role. He's
going to look like Jadeveon Clowney at South Carolina if he signs with the 49ers.
I don't know what game it was, but the play that's all I think about.
Oh, it was against the team up north in a random bowl game, and I absolutely love that clip because I just see the Michigan football player just getting absolutely cracked. It is so great. That will be that clip will live in infamy without a doubt. So staying in the division as Cleveland, as I mentioned, even though Jadeveon Clowney, he is no longer with Cleveland. The Bengals, this is a big move. And I personally think that this is right up, like it's not Aaron Rodgers, but if Aaron Rodgers is tier 1, this is like tier 2 right here. And that's the Bengals signing former Chiefs offensive tackle Orlando Brown for 4 years, $64 million. He was replaced by Jawan Taylor from the Jaguars on the Chiefs. And Jawan Taylor has played right tackle his entire career. And now they're trying to replace their left tackle with him. And it's not just any left tackle. Orlando Brown is a top 5 left tackle in the NFL. If Trent Williams didn't exist, there would be an argument for Orlando Brown as the best left tackle in the NFL. But Trent Williams, a generational talent, plays in the league still. Sorry, Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown even did a little bit of a media tour at ESPN, being on NFL Live yesterday, being on Get Up today. And so anyways, he signs with the Bengals. What do you think about this move?
I think it's a huge move. Like you said, he's arguably a top 5, and he's not 3, 4, or 5. If it wasn't for Trent Williams, he'd have a debate. So for Joe Burrow to, add to that offensive line, they had, even though they put a lot of money into it last offseason, they had a lot of injuries. So now to put him in there with these guys from last year going into year 2 of being with the Bengals, I think this is going to be huge for him. And, everyone's going to say for all of Joe Burrow's career, man, you give him 5 more seconds, you arguably say he wins the Super Bowl. So I think this is going to be huge for them.
I agree because when the Bengals had the 5th overall pick, had to jog my memory real quick, or they had the 6th, and then I think the Lions had the 5th pick. Yeah. When they had that 6th pick, it was Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase. I was always that person saying, okay, you draft Penei Sewell, because if you don't draft Penei Sewell, then Joe Burrow won't even be able to get the ball out. But they ended up going with Jamar Chase. They made the right decision. I was wrong because Jamar Chase is him. Like, he is going to be a top 5, top 10 receiver in the NFL for the next decade. And so now they spend that money that they're saving while Jamar Chase is on a rookie contract. And T. Higgins, I think, is still on a rookie contract.
And Joe.
And it's insane.
Got to go all in.
The money that they're saving on those 3 guys right now is the money that they're paying Orlando Brown, and it is an excellent move. Like I said, I think that this flew under the radar a little bit. It just happened like within the last day, but I still think that it's kind of flying under the radar and not getting the respect that it does. And obviously, like, quarterback is the flashy position, but do we need to have like just regular sports commentary TV like ESPN or Fox Sports? Do we need them to talk about Aaron Rodgers for an hour? Like, you could talk about Aaron Rodgers for 45 minutes and then talk about Orlando Brown for 15 minutes. That would be a little bit better of a ratio. Kevin, let's close it out with 2 running backs here. Let's start off with
before we move on for Orlando Brown. I have a fun fact for you.
Yeah,
please do. Slowest O-line 40 in NFL history.
Oh, nice. What was he clocked at?
I think he ran like a 5.8. They were talking about it on first day. He ran the slowest, and he barely benched. Like, he just had like a horrible draft. But he played with the Ravens and, that offensive scheme. And then, you put him with Patty, and they held it's famous. They wore the T-shirts at the Super Bowl parade, 0 sacks. So you got to give me the money.
I mean, that Chiefs offensive line got so much slander going into the Super Bowl because everyone thought that the Eagles were going to absolutely cook them. And they didn't, and they took that shit personal. Without
he came out first take like, oh, I wore 1 pair of cleats. You gotta be professional. You just gotta do what you gotta do. I'm like, man, we get it. You got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
I want to give a quick shout out to Burning Toast. That's the funny thing about YouTube is that you have some random names sometimes. Give a shout out to Burning Toast for saying Chicago free agency going way better than I thought it would be. Man, we talked about that trade on Monday, about the number 1 overall pick. We discussed it on Monday. And man, getting DJ Moore is just another great piece for it. Real quickly, Kevin, I want to get to these last 2 signings, and these were both running backs. We talked about this guy a little bit earlier as I was comparing Ezekiel Elliott to him, but Jamal Williams, he signed with the Saints for 3 years, and now he's paired there with Alvin Kamara. As we know, Alvin Kamara, he's always been great, but if I remember correctly, the year he really blew up was when he was playing alongside Mark Ingram. So what do you think about a move like this, getting Jamal Williams with the Saints and Derek Carr?
I think it's going to be huge, man. The Saints are in a place where they're trying to get a new identity for this offense without Sean Payton. So for them to just, double down on the run game with Alvin Kamara, when healthy, could be arguably a top 10 back. So to bring him in to, back him up and to run have a tandem, like you mentioned, his best years with Mark Ingram. So for them to have a kind of smash dash situation, I think it's going to go huge for the Saints.
I agree. I think it's going to be really interesting. And like we talked about earlier with Baker Mayfield, that division is wide open. And so now finally the Vikings, Wes, I hope you're watching right now, Wes, your favorite team, the Vikings. Wes would say that we saved the best for last as Alexander Mattison re-signed with the Minnesota Vikings to, I think, back up Dalvin Cook, but Dalvin Cook put a clip out on Twitter, one of those highlight clips that almost look like a goodbye clip. I don't know. What do you think, Kevin? Do you think that Madison's going to end up being the starter? What's going on?
I think he might be. I think, with Adam Thielen going, I think you've heard rumors of Kirk, always in trade rumors. I think they might just want to hit reset on it. They've had this crew for a while, and, they just hit a wall. But they just brought in Hawkinson, so it's going to be interesting to see how this team looks. But I don't know. I think they might just be hitting the restart button soon and, restarting with Justin Jefferson, and that's not a bad place to start.
That's not a bad place to start at all with the NFL's reigning offensive player of the year. Justin Jefferson is he's the okay. My brain for a second had a little bit of seed of doubt. But yeah, obviously the reigning offensive player of the year in Justin Jefferson. And real quickly, he'll be back with us on Monday, but Jaevon wanted to give his opinion and say that he thinks Dalvin Cook is gone as well. So, if he leaves the NFC, I won't be too mad. If he ends up going to an NFC West team, I probably won't care either because the rest of the NFC West is absolute garbage.
I don't want him to go.
Where would he go?
I don't want him to go to the Bills or the Chiefs. That shit would be crazy.
But could they pay him though?
Shit, they can give him a chance at a Super Bowl.
That's a good point. Good point. So we shall see. Any final thoughts, Kevin, before we get out of here?
Yes, man. I wanted to mention it before when we were talking about Ohio State. We have to go to a game when USC comes into the Big Ten. The three of us, we got to go down there. Toddy, you don't have to be that guy sitting next to Ohio State fans. They're going to boo you just like they're going to boo us. But we got to go. I think that would be fucking awesome.
I completely agree. I'm 100% down. And let's make it even better. Let's invite Wes, and then let's just make Toddy just deal with the three of us. That would be absolutely fantastic. And one more reminder, Kevin, the Niners run the NFC, as Jaevon just wanted to let you know one more time. That's going to do it, everyone, for episode number 20 of Stats Over Politics. For Kevin Dent, I am Sean Holko. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on Twitter at Stats or Politics. And we'll catch you all again in a couple days. We'll see you on Monday, everyone.
Hell yeah.